Hey everybody, this is Ken Tucker with Changescape Web. Welcome to this episode of the Marketing Guides for Small Businesses podcast. Today I'm joined by Ian, Jen, Dan, and Paul, and we have a special guest with us today. We're going to be talking to Zach Anderson of Molo Media. I'm really excited to be able to talk to Zach. We're going to be talking about website lead capture, speed of response, text message marketing, and why you need to text enable your website. So let's get right into it. Hey Zach, I know you've been doing text message marketing for a very long time, and you've got some amazing apps. Full disclosure, my company Changescape Web, we use your tools, and we find that they're absolutely terrific. So I'm going to go ahead and get started. And I think so many businesses don't realize this, but can you talk about what does it mean to text enable your website and why is it so important?
Well, the way I look at it is I look at your website as a storefront, right? So imagine like your chiropractic office, and you come into the chiropractic office and there's no one at the front desk, but there's a bunch of people in the background doing stuff and no one ever comes up and helps you. The website's kind of like the same thing. It's just a virtual storefront. You go to the website, you get there, and maybe there's a contact us form or there's a phone number. And a lot of people are hesitant to make phone calls now. They could be at work and do all those different types of things. So you're basically treating it like it's a storefront, but there's no one there to actually engage with you. So we came up with an idea to text enable websites by creating a widget that you can actually enter your information inside of the widget and immediately connect with the business over text messaging. And the reason why we chose text messaging is because the conversation can continue after they leave the website, whereas chat really is they have to be there to be able to respond. You're always fishing for information, all those different types of things. So and it's amazing if you go out there and start searching on Google to all these different businesses, none of them are doing it. And so they're losing out on a huge opportunity, not only to build a list, to be able to communicate back out to people, but to be able to give the people that are visiting the website a way to communicate on their own terms. Because we know that pretty much everybody text messages now. I mean, my mom, who's 76, even has a phone and will text message me. So it's just it's more, I know text message has been around forever, but it's become so much more on the forefront in the last couple of years, especially with what happened with COVID. I mean, like a restaurant, for example, when they were shutting down, there's no way for them to communicate with their customers. And so this allows businesses to be able to communicate with their visitors in real time on their terms that they choose and be able to build a list and continue that conversation after they leave the website. So they're not sit there waiting for someone to respond on the chat, which I've done it so many times where I pick up a chat, I'm asking these questions and I get distracted and I go do something else and I come back and the chat window's closed. And I got to start the whole thing over again. So that was the whole concept behind creating this text-enabled chat widget that you can, implement on the website, also in signatures, on advertising, on all these different types of things. So that was kind of the reason behind building the text chat for websites itself.
Yeah, awesome. And I know you have the ability to create an autoresponder. So if you're not able to take that text immediately, you can auto respond back to somebody to let them know that it was received and expect a contact from them soon.
Yeah.
And so that's I think that's fantastic. Paul, looks like you have a question.
Yeah, Zach, how you doing?
Good.
So let's say you have this text widget on your website. Is it possible to configure it so you can call or text different departments or specific people within a company?
Yeah. So basically what we did was we actually created it so you could add locations and you could also add departments. And the reason why we did locations is for those types of businesses. For example, sometimes a dentist will have 3 different offices, but a single website. So you've got to be able to route it to the proper places. So like, for example, we could have a Gig Harbor, a Seattle, or a Tacoma location. And when the widget pops up, you can choose the location and then choose whether you want to call or text. And then it will automatically route to that location, be able to track it all back in the back office. And you can even assign it to different users. So you're really giving as much flexibility as you possibly can. And I know that Ken touched on the autoresponder. What we also built into the platform, which is really, really beneficial. For example, like let's just say it's a hair salon or something like that. and somebody goes in there and types, says wants to talk to them, and they ask a question, and the autoresponder will write back and say, hey, thanks for texting us. If you have any questions about our pricing, just text back the word, prices. And our system will identify that word prices and then send them back out information. So you can create automation inside of the platform that actually takes away some of the human element, but still being able to have a two-way conversation in there. So by enabling departments, by enabling locations, and by enabling autoresponders, you're really able to systematize and automate a lot of the things that are naturally happening inside of the platform. And one thing that's really interesting, because the software will actually trigger phone calls or text messages, and we get 7 text messages to every 1 phone call. So people really prefer text messaging over calling. And a lot of it times is, you're at the office and you can't really pick up a phone, but you can sit there with your phone. I mean, anytime you go to a restaurant, a Starbucks, everyone's got their phone in their back pocket. I mean, they still are, and so yeah, it's really cool by enabling those department features, even for, like, say, a car dealership. You could have parts, you could have service, you could have sales, and it's going to just route to that appropriate person. And you're not having to go through that thing where you get on a chat bot and then, like, oh, let me transfer you. Oh, let me transfer you. You're kind of going through that transfer thing. So we built it in a way that's intelligent, and it gives a better user experience for the customer.
Yeah, that's awesome. I think a lot of people too, they don't want to start the conversation by talking to somebody, because then that may pull them into a conversation they're not ready to have. Text
Exactly.
is a much safer way to start that engagement. See if, just do that quick assessment, as somebody visiting a website, to say, oh, this is a company that can't help me. Okay, cool.
Yeah, we found that text messaging inside of the sales process can double the close ratio for whatever you're doing, just because it's a different touch point. And a lot of times you don't want to call. Like, I mean, personally, me, I'm not, if I'm in an early stage of buying something, I don't really want to have a conversation with a person. I just want to get some brief information before I pick up the phone and actually make that call of, like, yeah, I'm really interested. What does this really mean?
Yeah.
And on that note, Zach, I think what I want to know is, why is the speed of the response from the business so important, no matter what phase, even in that early phase that you're talking about? Why is speed of the business so important?
Well, there's an interesting thing. There was a study done by MIT that if you respond to someone within the first 5 minutes, you have a 900% more chance to engage with them. That is one major thing. And, as time goes by, the less likely you're going to do. And there's this waterfall effect, where it just goes down and down and down. And the other thing is generational. I mean, everyone expects to be texted back immediately. I mean, I think the stats are 98% of texts are open and responded to within the first 3 minutes. Yeah. And so you've got to engage in the same fashion. And so that's why we built a platform where you can respond on the desktop, you can respond via mobile app, you get notifications. So it's just a way they expect the speed. And so you want to be able to communicate. And it's also said the first person that communicates with that potential customer has like a 70% chance of actually closing them. So by utilizing text messaging, you will be able to engage with them quicker, because it is the fastest means out there versus email, calling, all those different types of things.
Gotcha. Got it. What, a bit of a basic question, but what's the difference between SMS and MMS?
SMS is just text, it's literally just words, and MMS is a picture. So it's you can send pictures and stuff like that back. And we enable that in the platform where it's on the mobile app, that you can take pictures and send it and be able to communicate back and forth. And so think about it from like an insurance agency or a mortgage broker or whatever it may be. You get in a car accident, right? You can literally just take a picture of it, send it to your insurance agent, and be able to start the process there. Taking pictures of deck pages, all those different types of things. So you can speed up the process of customer support and customer service by leveraging MMS, picture messaging, basically. I don't actually know what it stands for. I should probably look that up, but multimedia sending or something like that. But yeah, you can do V cards, you can send pictures. We are actually looking at a way of implementing it so that you can actually send like PDFs and things like that. It doesn't actually work through the carriers, but we can upload in and then send links that then open up in a browser and be able to save them that way. So really powerful if you're utilizing it in like basically for customer experience and customer support type stuff, and being able to move things through faster versus having to go and scan, send to email, and do all those things. You can literally just take a picture and send it to people. I love it when companies actually have that capability because it makes life so much easier than having to go through the regular process of, scanning something in, emailing it to yourself, then emailing it to them, that type of thing.
Yeah, it almost defeats the purpose of having this enabled if you can't get the visual over there, because it's just another time hurdle to scan and then you drop off. And so This is great. Yeah.
Yeah. Speed.
Yeah.
Speed,
absolutely.
That's awesome. And have you found, are there industries where this tends to work better and some where it doesn't work at all, Zach?
Well, the thing that's really strange is because what we do is, so mainly what Ringbot does is we white label our platform to marketing agencies. Then marketing agencies then go out and sell it to their customers. So I get this really high level view where I can see all these different types of companies that are utilizing it. And what I found is basically any website that has, the higher the traffic, the better it works. And if you don't have a website with high traffic, then you just have to implement it inside of your business, inside of your marketing, and all those different types of areas. One of the places that I found it's been extremely successful is fitness gyms. Just like really, really, really successful. Because think about it this way: the more traffic you have through your business, the more effective this is going to be. Because you're having, like, for example, a real estate agent may only have one customer a month, but a fitness gym could have thousands coming through. So it's the higher throughput of the business, the more effective it is, because more people want to communicate with the actual business itself. And so we found that car dealerships, it works extremely well because people have all this pre-buying questions, dentists, for appointments, chiropractor for massages and appointments. So just think about anything that's like an on-demand business, it seemed to be extremely effective for. And the ones that are like more of a high touch, low volume, it works, but it's not like blows up highly effective because they're already building it into their processes anyways. But for example, for like a real estate agent, we still encourage them to use it because one of the things about the TCPA laws is that you're not supposed to be texting people from your personal cell phone because you can't opt out, and it's not encrypted at rest and in transit. So there's a lot of laws and regulations out there that you got to make sure you do the proper things. And that's why I always suggest, even if you are a low volume person, still utilizing a platform like this, because you can store all the information in one place. It's encrypted, it's at rest, they can opt out, and your whole entire team can communicate via one phone number.
That's awesome. Thank you.
Yeah. So Zach, what are some great ways to get people to opt into your text message marketing list? What are the easiest ways to do that? And before you answer that real quick, can you import an existing customer list? Do you need to have any prior approval, or do you need to send an initial text to say, are you willing to opt into this?
Well, you're supposed to have, the laws state that you're supposed to have explicit written consent, or consent from the actual person that you have the capability of texting them. We don't actually allow people to import into our platform unless they've shown us the actual information that they have the explicit consent. And then even if you do that, I would honestly suggest that the initial text message that goes out is, reply back yes, to be able to, receive text messages back and forth. Because one of the things is, if you violate these laws, it's between $500 and $1,500 per message. So if you go and look on Google, you can see some of these lawsuits are in the 40, 50 million range. And so you got to be really, really careful about that type of stuff. There are ways that you can get around that. You can one-off text somebody. Broadcasting is where it really becomes a little dicey, that if you don't have explicit written consent, then you can't do that. And one ways that you can get people to opt in is by doing offers, like, for example, to get 10% off, text in the word 10% off, and then you send that auto response back saying, thank you for, texting in, here's your code to get 10% off. Also, we're going to be sending you 2 to 4 marketing messages a month. It's really about making sure that you're following the laws and telling your consumers what you're going to be doing with their information, and also being able to forget their information. So that comes down to the California Consumer Privacy Act and the GDPR, that you have to have a system that you can actually go in and delete and forget the entire set of information. So we've built a whole platform that does all that type of stuff.
Okay. So, we're all a bunch of marketers. We do presentations and things like that. and Dan, I know you talk about this quite a bit, and I've done it as well. Companies like ours, even though we don't have the high volume kind of a throughput that you're talking about, when we do a presentation, having a text program where somebody could text ebook, or presentation to a number so that they can walk away from the presentation we just delivered can be super powerful, right?
Yeah, extremely powerful. I do a lot of webinars as well, and I've built lists over time, and I can send out an email and say get 100 registers, and then send out a text blast that has a tenth of the size of the list and get the same amount of registers. But I use it in all that type of stuff as well. Like, for example, I'm doing some online marketing right now where I'm only requesting a phone number, not even an email, and they get the actual information delivered to them over text messaging. So that then I'm capturing them and being able to communicate with them on a one-on-one basis to kind of move them down the sales process.
Yeah, awesome.
Yeah, that is really a powerful way to, I think it just absolutely changes everything about your presentation and your ability to capture people is just off the charts. I mean, it's amazing because you are getting people, I think, that are fairly well qualified at that point. I mean, there's still some questions you may have to ask them one-on-one, but they have interest, and if your offer is good enough, as we've talked about many times about offers, that's a closer for you. It changed. I think once I found text message marketing in the form that you're talking about, all my presentations after that changed. I mean, it was just nothing ever became about just putting a phone number up there anymore, or an email or anything like that.
Yeah, we call it conversions through conversations.
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So, Zach, a lot of people, I think, they look at text message marketing as just like sending out blasts or broadcasts. But if you structure a well-automated campaign, how would that work in regards to text message marketing?
Well, the way we build our campaigns, and you can build a lot of automation and things like that, but what the automation is really trying to do is to find that moment when the conversation gets picked up and you actually are having a two-way conversation back and forth. So broadcasts are really designed to go out for offers, or notifications or whatever it may be, or somehow to start a conversation. The automations are the same fashion. It's asking questions. It's trying to find that point in the sales process where the individual is going to communicate back to you. Then you start to be able to engage with them and then ultimately be able to pick up the phone if that's the type of sales that you're doing. So it's really about, the automation is designed to create the conversation. And then the conversation is what actually closes the sales, or does whatever goal you have in mind with those series of automations to get the engagement going through text messaging.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. It was my question. I was going to ask, how important is it in your mind to use a text message marketing system to communicate with leads and customers? Couldn't a business just use their cell phone?
No, and I know that I already talked about this, and we'd love to bring this up again. Again, there's all these laws, FCC, TCPA, CCPA, GDPR, and they're designed to protect the consumers, right? So the consumers need to be able to opt out. They need to be able to, have their information forgotten, all those different types of things. And when you use your own personal cell phone, what happens if you lose it? Somebody else can get access to their information. It's not encrypted at rest. It's not encrypted, in transit. You can delete it, but again, there's no simple way of doing it, be able to track that information. And also, that basically there's no way for the individual to opt out. They physically just can't opt out because it's, like with our system, when you reply back stop or a multitude of things, it locks it. You just can't send another message, and you can't opt them back in. It's physically down at the carrier level. So we do a double layer at the carrier level and actually in our software as well, so that nobody gets in trouble.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah. Seems like kind of going back to the days when email marketing was first starting, and folks would send out something and their list would be BCC'd and it's from your own email address, right? Something like that. Like,
I remember those BCC blasts, right?
Yes. And then when the BCC was forgotten and you're like, oh, wow, look at that.
Yes, that's the worst. Send to all, and it's just this massive list. I've seen those. I've seen that happen. That's not a good thing.
Not a good thing. Absolutely. No. What about, what's your opinion on some of these text message marketing systems that are bundled into point of sale or POS systems? Is that a good sort of starting off point? If someone was thinking, oh, do I have another thing to subscribe to?
That's a really interesting thing, because we look at a lot, because I have another platform called Customer Engine outside of Ringbot. Ringbot's the one we've been mainly talking about. Customer Engine does the relatively similar thing what Ringbot does, but Ringbot's really designed for communication, improving customer experience, all that. Customer Engine, what we do is we track revenue. And so we send out offers with very unique codes in there, so that when they go back into the business and they spend money at the business, you track the code in there, and it tracks revenue per user and different things like that. POS systems do have some form of that, but they're very clunky because that's not their primary focus. So, our platform is designed only to do this type of thing and be able to track it. But we are in the process of doing some integrations with POS systems so that when they do come in, they simply just push a button on the POS and they enter the code, and it's all tracked back to our platform as well. But our platform, the Customer Engine platform, is designed really to be able to track that offer. And we also have two-way text messaging in there with all these different crazy automations that we can do, like birthday clubs and anniversary clubs and all that type of stuff, and date-driven blasts and all those things. So you can basically create a business, utilize one of our templates, like say for a restaurant, and have an entire years of marketing done inside of like 10 minutes.
Yeah.
And then everything happens on its own. Like when somebody texts in, to get, a free slice of pizza or whatever, when they actually redeem the code, it fires off all these automations asking when their birthday is, if they want to join the VIP club, all those types of things. And then also they can actually communicate back and forth to have a two-way conversation as well. So it's really designed to capture more customers and generate more revenue from your existing customers and bring in new customers. We've seen tremendous success with that particular platform, with small businesses being able to, add $5,000 to $10,000 additional revenue to their bottom line every single month.
And I have a dumb question on this. And maybe this is something that you get from businesses, is how much is too much in your opinion when it comes to, we often talk about the buyer's journey and the marketing hourglass, and there's a lot of different phases in this. What do you recommend? I know every business is different, but I've also seen some businesses really overdo it as well, where it just every single phase, once you're in, you're just pounded all the time with text. What do you kind of advise there?
It's a hard thing to kind of go, because it's so different for every different business. Like for example, if it's a nightclub that has a lot of bands that come in, you'd want to notify people all the time, right? There's another one that I utilize as well, like a brewery, when a new beer comes out, right? So there's these different types of messages that you send out. But if you're just out there and you're trying to just sell your own products, and it's not like this new event thing, I would say max once a week, because you don't want to overdo them, because then they're just going to opt out. And it's also about the offer. Is it a good offer? Are you segmenting your list properly? And that's another thing that's really important, is with both of our applications, you have the ability, what we call tagging all the different users, so you can segment your list. So if you have certain people that are always coming in and just buying this, then you wouldn't want to send them an offer for something else. And so by segmenting, you can actually send out more, because you know what your audience actually wants. Does that make sense? But I personally, just from my own feeling, I wouldn't want to get more than one text a week. And that would, probably be too much. Like, for example, I subscribe to LG's text marketing campaign for some reason, and they send out, I think, every other week. And that's fair, because they never know when somebody's in a buying position to be a new TV or this or that or other thing. So it kind of really depends on the actual industry and what you're actually sending out and what you're trying to achieve with those messages themselves.
Got it. Great.
I know that was vague, but
not at all. No. It is very dependent on that business. But it is interesting how they do have to get a little strategic in this thing from the very beginning and think about the entire buyer's journey in terms of, okay, well, how do we weave text into this in a smart way rather than turn people off before, they really get to know us. Even when they become a customer, you still want them to be a long-time advocate of you. And so, how do you kind of nurture that in a cool way?
Yep.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Another great thing I think you can do too is if you're a restaurant or you're a salon or something like that, and you're having a slow day and it's normally not slow for you, you can send out a broadcast to the right segments of your list, and that could be a really effective thing. And I think you could work in those occasionally, so you might creep in, maybe 2 messages a week in those types of scenarios. And I don't think most people probably wouldn't, freak out about that. But if you're sending out something every day when you really don't need to be, that's a path for
unsubscribers. Right.
That's a lot of opt-outs is what that is. And we track all of our opt-outs and things. So you can kind of see, like when you send a broadcast, you can see how many people opted out. So you can start gathering information on those types of things, But again, it depends on the thing. Like, what if an appointment opens up, being able to fill that appointment, I'm sure people would want that. So, you can always kind of do those different types of things without harming your list too bad.
Yeah.
That's cool. And you talked a little bit about revenue and tying this to revenue. On the metric side, how important is it to be able to track revenue by campaign or even by phone number?
We track by phone number. So we track by campaign and by phone number. So we can see how the campaign's performing, and then we can see the individual, how they're performing. So we actually have like a leaderboard almost, or the people that spend the most at the actual thing at the company or the business. And then we can track by broadcast, by campaign, by automation, because there's all kinds of different things that we build inside of the platform that you can do. And we track the revenue across all those types of things. So you can see which one performs better, which one doesn't, which list is performing better, all those types of things. And it allows you to manipulate things and optimize things even more so that you, again, aren't, harming your list and you're getting the right information out to the right people and the right offers converting the correct way. Because I've seen things where people will send something out and it doesn't perform well. And it's something that, like, for example, you send out, get a free, dessert with your large pizza or whatever. I don't eat dessert. My family doesn't eat dessert. We don't, and so that I'm not going to use that. So you always have to do the offers in a way that reach the broadest audience when you're doing a broadcast to be able to then track the revenue and see which one is most effective. And that's how we've been able to identify when they're bad campaigns, right? When it doesn't work. And then we go analyze the offer and oh, this is why it didn't work. You're sending out a broadcast to everybody, but it's really only to this little tiny segment over here that's going to even take you up on that.
Right. And you were talking about being able to set up custom tags. Are you also able to pull reports in your system related to those custom tags and see how effective that segment of your overall list is doing?
Yeah, so you can always see the amount of subscribers on each list. And so you can see, the growth and the opt-out and all those types of things. And really the segmenting is really important to do so that you can send out more messages, if that makes sense, because if there is somebody that's on a VIP list and they are the best customers, you would send out specific offers around those versus somebody that's just, loves large pizzas, so you can kind of choose and pick and see where things are and see the performance on different types of things and see how well each list is performing based off of the offers that you're sending. So we try and do the best we can in regards to metrics and drilling down as much as we can. And it's a learning process. So we're constantly improving these types of things and constantly saying, oh, well, we could do this and we could identify even better opportunities. Like, oh, this person's come in 6 times, so we may need to build an automation for that particular person that maybe segments over to a different list over there.
Yeah. Your platforms are absolutely amazing, and as I look at a lot of different businesses that are out there, especially so many of the businesses that were hit because of the COVID economy, where they had to shut down, having smart text message marketing systems and starting the communication process in the way that people want to communicate, the primary way that most people are saying they want to communicate today, is one of the very first places that I think, many of these businesses really need to be looking. So, Zach, I mean, this has been amazing. You've given us a master class here, and I really appreciate it. I mean, it's been incredible. Guys, do you have any other questions for Zach?
Yeah, well,
No, you go ahead, Dan. I'll ask next.
It's part question, part statement. Maybe to reiterate here for folks, Zach, maybe you can speak to is that we talk a lot about things in terms of a simple sale of this technology, which is retail, restaurants, things like that, free dessert and whatnot. But I think it's good for people to be reminded that there's a good B2B service-based firm use of this technology too, right? Where I think sometimes people tend to kind of use things like this and go, well, we're not giving away free pizza. We're not doing this. But there's still very much an application here for different types of service-based firms.
Yeah, I mean, I only sell B2B, and I use it every single day, all day long, and it's a way to communicate with customers. It's a way to communicate with prospects. Like, for example, I sell my software and it's all automated, so I don't have a sales team, but my widget sits on the order page. And so when people have questions, they use the widget, and I pick up my phone and I reply back to them and able to help them via text message without even having to pick up the phone. So I can literally have 3 or 4 conversations going on at once, and it wouldn't affect me, where I can't have 4 phone calls going on at once. I'd need 4 salespeople. So it's B2B. It works extremely well. I would say it probably even works better than the consumer, because on a B2B level, it's typically some kind of sales process. It's not just I'm going in to eat dinner. I'm not going to get my hair cut. I'm not going to the dentist. There's a process involved with B2B, a sales process that is, and integrating some form of two-way text messaging into that, you're going to drastically increase your close ratios and have a better customer experience. I mean, it's even to the point of, like, just say, for example, an insurance agency, like if they have, they potentially sometimes have high turnover in certain positions. So utilizing text messaging in the hiring process allows them to actually improve and increase in the speed at which they can hire people. And then when they do need to hire another person, they can also reach back out to all those other people. So there's all kinds of a variety of applications that you can utilize this. Another one for the insurance agency would be like, if just a natural disaster hit, they could have a list of adjusters that are contract adjusters to be able to then text them out immediately and be able to help all their consumers or their customers itself. So there's so many different varieties of application to two-way text messaging that helps in a B2B world versus just a B2C world.
Hey, one of the questions that popped into my head while we were talking here, Zach, is we serve lots of different companies, but dentists are one of our favorite niches. And just thinking through kind of how their teams are set up and that they have practice management software and lots of constraints. I'm thinking of the immediacy and some of the stats you shared about how quickly you need to respond. Like in the first 5 minutes. Just thinking about those teams, but I think it also applies to a lot of other types of businesses. How can you make this type of system work when your team is responsible for being, say, front desk at a dental clinic, where they're handling patient inquiries on the phone, they're responding to emails, they have patients standing in front of them that need to pay. How can you make this type of system work? Because it sounds like it's fantastic and effective.
Well, the one thing that's really good about text messaging is not only the speed, but everyone expects it to only be a sentence, not a diatribe. Mm-hmm. So it's a two-way conversation, where email is not a two-way conversation. Phone calls are two-way conversations, but you're physically taken. So you can literally, it's so much faster to respond and so much easier. One, you can create templates. So like if people are asking the same questions over and over again and you get the text in, you literally go up, template, send, you're done, right? It tracks everything, HIPAA compliant. I mean, obviously we don't store any personal health information or anything like that. Everything's encrypted at rest and in transit. You can't control what the actual patient is sending in, but you're not going to be sending out anything in that sense. And, so it's really effective, and it can speed things up, because imagine being able to give an opportunity, instead of having to call to schedule an appointment, they can just text. So you're not waiting on hold. You're not doing any of those kind of things. You can create automated reminders to be able to go out and send out later to remind them of their appointments. I mean, there's just so much more flexibility, and you can utilize that with all templates. So if someone's always asking the same question, you write the text once, save it as a template, now you're done. So it's all about speed as far as I'm concerned. And it's really what I consider the digital voicemail of the world, right? You're just literally, instead of calling and leaving a voicemail, you're just sending in a text message that's stored, that you can see, that you can respond. Even if it's 5 to 10 minutes later, you still can respond, and the person's not going to be too annoyed.
Awesome. No, that's super helpful. And just one point of clarity for me is, so do the people in the say the people at reception, do they have to have, like, are they on an app on their computer doing the texting, or are they on their actual phone in an app there that you guys provide, or how does that part of it work? Like, where do they actually respond from?
Well, we have a desktop app, so they can be logged in, and they get if they have it open, they get notifications, they get email notifications, they get text alerts that they've got a text. And we also have a mobile app. So like they can, for example, a perfect example for why people use the mobile app, like we have a lot of fitness gyms that use it, and they're not always sitting at their computer. So they're just walking around with their phone in their back pocket. A text comes in, done, put it back in their phone. So they don't have to actually sit down. Whereas, a receptionist, they're always sitting at the desk, so they can just have it open. Alert pops up, they just literally go onto it and they have that conversation right there. So it's completely, wherever you need to be, it's at.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Yeah. Awesome. Any other questions?
Yep.
All right. Awesome. Zach, so how can people learn more about Ringbot and Customer Engine? And what else would you like for them to know about you, and maybe how they can contact you?
Well, if they can always go to ringbot.io to check out the software, or customerengine.io to check out that software. If you want to get a hold of me directly, you can just email me at Zacha, which is just ZACHA, at molomedia.com. That's MOLOMEDIA.com. That's my parent company that owns all the software platforms itself, and that's the best way to actually get a hold of me.
All right. And I think you mentioned this earlier, that Ringbot and Customer Engine are only available for agencies. And we have a mix of listeners here, where maybe some are small businesses, others are going to be marketing professionals and agencies. So just keep that in mind. But if you need any help, obviously, I'm sure Zach can hook you up. We're big advocates and users of these two platforms as well. Zach, I can't thank you so much enough. This has been really fantastic, and just want to give you the last word if you have anything else you want to say.
I just think, conversions through conversations. And everybody should be text messaging, right? That's just, if you're not, you need to start doing it.
Yep.
Doing it the proper way, that is.
Exactly. Exactly.
Not on your cell phone.
All right. Thanks so much, Zach.
Thank you.
Take care.
See ya.